Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in Delaware.
Okay.
I went to college out west.
Yeah.
My parents still live here, but all my siblings live out west.
Okay. Were you close with your siblings?
Yeah, pretty close to them, yeah.
You know, when you look back on like childhood growing up, what's one memory that sticks out? It can either be good or bad.
Oh, gosh. You know, it's so weird because like the last few weeks, a lot more has been, I've been like trying to remember things, not really trying to remember things. Unfortunately, I'm remembering things. And you know what? I don't really talk to people that often. Mm-hmm. So I'm having a hard time trying to get all of the thoughts that I've had in my head out.
Yeah.
I've been kind of going back in time and thinking about some things that I just have screwed up all my life, I feel like. Yeah. But one of my youngest memories, which came to mind the other day, was because of all the fires, driving by this place on Murphy Road.
Okay.
The father had set the house on fire. Wow. Killed like the wife, grandmother, one or two of the kids. And I remember thinking, boy, I wish that I had died in that fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember how old you were?
I think I was around 8. Either I was after 8 or before 8. I can't remember. But I know it was before 10 or 9. And then later in life, my sister, one of the secretaries at her law firm down in Wilmington, was one of the surviving children.
Get out.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, and it dawned on me, like, why would I think why I wished that is because I felt like I just wasn't ever good enough.
Yeah.
And then if you die, I think in this, I was raised in a religion where we were baptized when we were 8. So if you die before that, you just automatically go to heaven or whatever.
Oh, I see.
And I mean, we had a good family, but we weren't, lovey-dovey or, we were always working.
Where did you fall? You said you had older sisters and younger?
I have 3 older sisters and a younger brother.
Yeah.
And the oldest 2 are twins, and they're 6 years older than me. And then my next sister is like 3 years older than me. And then my little brother is 11 years younger than me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you almost end up being like a parent to him?
I think all of us just doted on him, and
when he was the only boy too, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
so
especially being the only boy
if
too.
If you had one word to describe your household or your childhood,
working.
It was working.
Yeah.
Were it was different back then, but did your parents talk to you all a lot?
No.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Did you see a lot of love between them, or were they kind of distant?
There's a lot of conflict, I think, between my mom and dad, just in the way that they, my dad had grown up on a farm, and my mom grew up with a lot more, and didn't want to be as frugal as so I was always, there was that kind of conflict.
Yeah, and that's tough too. That went on in my family.
Yeah.
I think my mom, they married later, but my mom was thinking my father was going to be way more successful than he ended up being. Was she a stay-at-home mom?
Mm-hmm. She was.
That's tough too.
Yeah.
Do you think she was depressed or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Easily runs in our family.
Yeah. Was she really critical of you all?
Oh, yes.
What are some things you remember?
I think, and then I even saw it like with my aunts.
Her sister?
Her sisters.
Okay.
Were all kind of different in that way, and my grandmother as well. But yeah, I think everyone measured things by how much you had and what you had and how and I always bucked that. I never liked it.
Me neither. To this day.
I just, they would want to go shopping, and shopping was the last thing I ever wanted to do.
Yeah. So do you think that was tied to like a worth issue? Like a poverty mindset in that?
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I just feel that people, that's a very shallow way to be, and I've always wanted more. Like I was thinking of that today even, that why didn't my mom tell us to read more? Instead it was, I want my house cleaned and I want this done and we're having another party and we need to,
I think it was that generation because, it's funny with the women, all the women I talk to our age and even men versus like millennials when I've talked to them, drinking was a huge part. Like it was a social, and I think that was just might have been the time. But a lot of sexual abuse for women I talk to happened right under their parents' nose. Parents were having a party and like neighborhood kids or someone, and parents just didn't pay attention to where we were.
Right.
I wonder, and there's no way to answer this, but if you'd have that mindset, and me too, because I was like, money was never important. It was what I craved was love. Same with you?
Right.
Yeah. Who do you think you craved love from most?
I would say it was equally.
Yeah.
I was very much attached to my mom and was very shy from what I kind of remember being real little. I must have been very difficult as a kid too,
Why do you say that?
I think, I got shipped up to my aunt here in Springfield a lot. This is what I remember. And she would always say, I'd rather have Sue than the Asiatic flu. Yeah. And I was like, never really hit me until later. Like, I must have had been like this crazy ADD kid that always had to be into things. And it just, was probably too much for my mom. She just didn't really. Yeah. I didn't toe the line. Like, one of my older sisters was like, why? We all do what we're supposed to. Why does Susan not? Because I didn't agree with you guys. Yeah. I didn't see the, the
and
purpose
so you
in
felt that was a flaw, though.
Yeah. Most likely.
I know that sucks, isn't it? That was your gift. That's the beauty of it.
Nowadays, you would be like, let them be free.
Do you remember report cards? Like what teachers, what did they usually comment on your report card?
I don't know about that part. I know that I was very average, if not bad. And there again, they didn't ever say like, oh, this is so great, or why can't you be like your sister? Or they never did any of that.
So they didn't compare.
They didn't at all. Because I remember thinking that, like I had friends that would get, for an A, they would get so much money, or they would be, just given a hard time for not having good grades. And I just never had any of that.
Did you feel like you fit in with your family, your sisters? Or did you feel like, I must have been adopted?
No, actually, we always teased my other sister of being adopted. Yeah. Yeah, because she was just head and shoulders above us in every way, intelligence-wise. And I fit in best with the twins, which were like 6 years older than me. We would have a lot of fun. We'd laugh and, about the same things or whatever, and we still do, like I'll still call my sisters, a couple times a month or whatever. But
do you remember what you wanted to be when you were a kid growing up?
Yeah. Wanted to just be a mom. Yeah.
Do you remember what made you want to be a mom?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, probably felt that way before even my brother was born. Because I remember playing with dolls with, friends and stuff, and playing house, and we'd go out in the woods and build stuff. But it was so fun. Yeah. I don't know. I just always thought it would be fun just to be a mom.
When you went to college?
Yeah.
What'd you major in?
Business.
Yeah. Okay.
But then in marketing, and then I got out and ended up working with DuPont in customer service. And then I quit and stayed home with my kids. I loved being home with my kids, but I also don't think I was the greatest mom. With my son, I think he's younger. I wasn't so great with him. I was alright, but I kind of just got tired of it all. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, what do you think you could have improved on?
Being more interactive with him, and even to this day, like he came home for Christmas. This is his last year of college, thank goodness. he came home at Christmas time, and he's really good to spend time with his dad. We're divorced.
Yeah.
And, but I just am not as close to him. But this time when he was here, I did talk to him a little bit more, and I kind of feel like I have a better understanding with him. He was really angry at me for the divorce and how I treated his dad and all that. So I think we have a better understanding about it now.
Did you ever
good.
talk about like his childhood and how he saw it?
I didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'd like to get into that.
I've done that with my son and with my daughter too. And it's funny, my daughter's the youngest, and her perception of things. I'd say to my son, I'm like, she'd always say, like, you're always going to freak out. I'm like, freak out? I don't remember yelling at all. I said to my son, like, did I? He goes, no, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. I'm like, so.
I know.
Yeah. And
they're funny.
It's funny because, sometimes what we hang on to, like I remember with my daughter, the only time she was so pig-headed, really stubborn, and I didn't know how to deal with like a 5-year-old that was super stubborn. And so she had a ponytail, and I do remember one time in the kitchen, and this was about the cruelest of a parent I'd ever was. She was doing something, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to yell. I grabbed her ponytail, and I was like, ding! And as soon as I did it, I got this sick feeling in my stomach, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. But she brought that damn thing up like 2 weeks ago. We were talking about something, and she's like, it's not like they were abused. And I said, well, you weren't abused. She goes, you pulled my hair. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, stellar mom besides that, but I pulled her damn ponytail one time. So, it's, maybe you think you weren't there, but he may think you were there.
Yeah, well, and it's hard because, see, when we were divorced, he was maybe 4.
Okay. And that's tough,
yeah, and she was about 8. Yeah, so they were younger.
What was that like? When I got divorced, my kids were older, and I remember going, wow, thank God my kids weren't younger.
I know.
Like, how was that?
And I worked out the divorce or the time that we were separated, that I would stay home until my son was in 1st grade.
Okay.
So
but still, then I had first grade. Still, you have to go out without being in work.
I had to find something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary in itself.
Yeah.
And so what was it?
And I think a lot of what's been going on with my son over the last couple of years, he had issues with school, with the relationship that he was in, and so he came home.
Yeah.
He does very well in school.
Right.
So he's gotten a lot of his dad's opinion on everything. And his dad is just kind of cockeyed on the way he thinks. He really is.
Yeah.
But so then my son stayed home for a little while. Yeah. He's back at school now. He stayed home for a little while and stayed mostly with his dad.
Okay.
And he would come over and just, sometimes be in tears telling me what he said to him. And I think he's finally understood about what his dad has said. And I think he came around. But when I saw him at Christmas time, I was talking to him now because right now I'm going through issues. I'm the only child here, and my mom's going through dementia. My dad, I'm trying to not make him, have everything fall on him. I'm trying to help out down there a lot, cook, clean, whatever needs to be done, and just basically be around. And my son was like, I don't complain. I tell you the goofy things that Dad does. He goes, but I feel like that's how I have to be around Dad. It's really hard for me. I said to him, I know, and I'm really sorry.
Do you still talk to your ex?
But I think my son feels like he's taking on the responsibility of his dad. And he doesn't, I didn't say you don't have to, but
I wonder
it's his choice.
Yeah.
Because I said to him, you don't need to come back after school. You can stay out west, find a job, do everything there. But he says, no, he wants to come home and be with his dad.
If you had to do it over again, parenting, what would you change?
I would be more lighthearted about things. I wouldn't worry so much about how things were going to turn out.
Yeah.
and I would have played a lot more with them. I did, and I've done a lot of things with my kids, and I took them a lot of places. But I think I would have been a lot more lighthearted, would have been better. Yeah.
Were your parents, were they playful at all?
No.
No, you had said your mom in the family with depression. Was there any like addiction or like was your mom
Diet Coke?
Diet Coke.
Oh, and I think to me, I've just gained 10 pounds within the last 6 months or less. But to me, also food has been an addiction with our family.
With the whole family. Did you have to pick up her slack because of the depression? No. No,
and quite honestly, there's not a reason to bitch about my childhood. It was really good. But on the other hand, I saw better. And for instance, things that I did different. I made sure that my daughter, when she was little, that she had friends over all the time, that she was, learning how to interact with kids and all of that. I feel that is something that I didn't have as much. It was helpful to have siblings, but I feel like, I don't know, I think a large part of what I'm looking at for myself right now is, I could have done better with the kids, but they are actually good people.
Yeah.
They are functioning as far as I can tell.
When you said that you had no complaints about your childhood, but you saw better, what was the better that you saw?
Oh, well, we would be delivering Sears catalogs at 6, 7, or 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
When I had friends that were able to go out and play, or I had, this other friend from church would be like, oh my gosh, we had to spend the whole day doing this. And that was just small compared to what we had to do all the time.
Do you think your parents were trying to teach you a lesson?
No.
Yeah.
I think my dad was always a workaholic, and let's, here's another way to make money. Let's do that. Because it was a fundraiser at one point for our church, but then there was a lot of work and more than what the church wanted, or that the people there wanted to really do. And my dad we didn't have a back seat to the station wagon. It was flattened because it was full of Sears catalogs. Yeah.
So that was a lucrative business? Well, it started out...
I guess when you have 4 daughters and they can run off on either side, and you drive 2 cars and can get everything done fast that way. But it was embarrassing, and it was...
Yeah.
And for what? And for what? To me,
Did you ever have friends see you do it? That said anything?
I think my sisters did. I was younger than them. I think it was far worse for them. But I think they had seen some friends or whatever. But that didn't pay.
Yeah. Did you remember in your 20s, thinking far ahead as to what you wanted your life to be?
Yeah. No, obviously not. One of the huge things that I'm very regretful of right now is not having friends, and looking back on the friends that I have had that I've let go. I'm like, why did I do that? I just thought, I'm better than this, and whatever. I didn't take the time for other people.
Yeah. Is that when your kids were little?
I think it was from the beginning of, or the end of high school, the beginning of college, on and on, different places. I'm thinking of different places I've lived and different things that I've done, and that I regret. And also, even with the kids and with school, I'm still in the same area, but I haven't known how to make friends. I've had friends, but I haven't really had good friends.
Yeah.
And just recently, I would say, it was a year ago this month, a childhood friend that I've had since 6th grade, 5th grade. I finally, and we've stayed in touch. We've known everything about each other, and I finally stopped talking to her completely.
How come?
I didn't like the way she was talking to me, and I didn't like the way that, she was treating me.
Good for you.
Yeah, which
It's
makes
hard.
me sad because I kept trying to say things to her or reach out or change the dynamic or the thought process.
Did she know how you felt?
She just wouldn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah, she knew. I mean, like one time I drove all the way up there and I was like, what is going on? This and that. And she just wanted to be superficial. And I was just like,
I recently, like when I quit work and everything, and I started getting different friends. I found they were either people like me or they were like my spouse and my dad. Like I have one girlfriend who I know she's really caring, but she's a bully and she's controlling. And I said to her one time, I'm like, I think you were brought in my life, so I need to speak up to you. So if you do something that I go like, I'm going to tell you.
Right.
So it doesn't mean I like you anyway,
right.
but I have to speak up. I think you were brought into my life because you're a female bully controlling. Like I did notice for a while after I quit work when I was starting to change, I did attract a lot of really strong, not so nice women. And I'm like, that's really weird. Look, everyone's kind of the same around me. What am I admitting that is attracting these people? But for me, it was all about codependence. You know what I mean? That's why between mental illness and addiction on my parents' end. And I was wondering if that happened with you, because with mental, if your mom was depressed and you ended up, you felt responsible for her, then that can happen too, where you kind of leave childhood and your worth is wrapped up in taking care of other people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, of a pattern, and I really don't see that.
Yeah.
But the one thing, like with this friend, which really kind of hurt me at the time and hurt me for quite a few years, that, she was kind of being this way. I finally, decided to go back to work and I do the coding for, so that's why I'm at home. And she's a social worker.
Okay.
And so I went back for that. I told her, this is what I'm doing. Oh, can't they computerize that? Like everything that I was doing, or, when I remarried my husband, she didn't like him necessarily to begin with. Oh, he's too this or whatever. And she was right.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, I'm like, oh, why did I rush into that? But then there were like other things. I would get lost going someplace or whatever. But just little things like that, like, oh, you always do this, or you're, a constant put down. And then it got to be where, oh yeah, we'll meet, or, we'll do this, and then a constant bailout at the last minute. And I didn't want that anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
But that's good. I mean, it's lonely. It stinks when you get rid of unhealthy. But congratulate yourself for doing that. It's really hard to do. When do you feel most like you?
So my daughter came back for a visit in August, and we had some old friends over for dinner that she's known since she was little. So they come over, she's here for a couple of days, and that would be fun. So they did, and Claire and I are getting dinner ready, and we're just being goofy, and dancing to whatever music, or singing or laughing, and my friend that has known her since she was little, just I saw her kind of staring at us, and she's like, you have such a relationship with her. Like she saw a different side of me that I don't think she'd seen. This friend growing up, that I've known for years, gosh,
but
30 years.
She with your husband now?
Yeah. And it is. I mean, my daughter and I just click. We have the same stupid brain, and and yet, you know, so anyway, there was this, I knew that a while ago she had called me, and she said something that Tom, my husband, had said to her to call me, that I was feeling down. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, she calls me anyway, or texts me, or she always is doing something. But I didn't know how to, I didn't tell Tom.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to tell him, like, you never tell your child, or you never tell somebody to call their mom because their mom's sad. You just, you don't do that. You don't put that on your kid.
Yeah. So it's funny because I have a son the same way, and there was a point after we got divorced where for like 6 months I'm in depression. I think it was hormonal. At like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would get suicidal, and I would like go in his room and like come because I was afraid. I was hurt myself. 2 hours later, I was fine. It was crazy. Yeah, and I felt really bad. And so now, you know, like he and I, like your daughter and I, we same brain.
Yeah.
And so I do tell him that, and I feel bad sometimes. He's like, Mom, like, there's no one else. I'm not a kid anymore. Like, it's not. And I'm like, okay, but that's a weird feeling. Because I'm like, I remember when I was depressed like that, I would say, please move out. I love you so much. Go live with Dad. Yeah. Because you shouldn't have to be subjected to, like, whatever the hell's happening in my body for, like, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. That, I mean, did your daughter say how she... I mean, because I imagine... You know, I look at the same concept of like when you go out to lunch, if someone wants to treat you, you're like, no. And someone said to me once, well, you're like cheating the other person out of feeling good by treating you. And I'm like, I never thought of it that way. And I'm thinking with kids when they get older. Right. You know, I mean, maybe it's like to help your parents sometimes just by listening.
It builds a relationship.
It builds a relationship and makes them feel like they're doing something for you instead of you always doing something for them.
I agree. I definitely something that I never want overused. Yeah. You know. Well, and I guess in the past I've called my mom as a kid, you know, or all my years growing up, or even when my kids. And she'll be, you know, sad. Oh, you know, what's wrong? And, oh, you know, whatever. And she doesn't really get into it, really. You know, she doesn't really say what's what. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, I can, and I don't know that I've ever really helped her other than just show up and be around.
The worst is, I think, that, like, and your parent won't say that and you're sad, but you kind of guilt somebody into it. Like, everyone gets sad. Yeah. At some time. Right. You know, no one's happy all the time. But, you know, I mean, that's sadness. I don't know. I always just think that's kind of what families for, to go, hey, I'm feeling really bad. Can you give me a hug? You know, or, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, and that's what I have one sister.
A hard time. I'll say to my daughter, and this isn't even a hard time, but like she's very much like my ex, and she was also adopted, has a lot of attachment issues. So I never hear from her ever. But you know, there are times I'll say, look, I don't need you to like call me on this, but like once a week, can you shoot me a text? But I'm like, I don't feel bad for saying that. I'm like, I'm your mother. Right. Once a week, I get tired of always calling you or texting you. Just, you know, but I don't think something like that's out of line. I say this because I have a therapist from years ago who I keep, not that she hasn't helped me in years. However, I don't have families. So she's my support person, and it's cheap. So I keep her. So every time I'm about to do something with kids, I'm running, particularly since my daughter has a lot of attachment issues. I'm like, how long do you stay and just kind of be treated crappy by your child? Right. Yeah.
That's really, that's kind of interesting. And that's what, like, I think like my one sister just has major depression. Yeah. And I'll call her and, try just, hey, what's up or whatever. And, she does not want to, she's never wanted to just share.
So how's that make you feel as her sister?
Right.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I'm saying.
So I'm thinking, maybe you're right, because we all have been raised to be so stoic.
Yeah.
And, maybe you're right. And I have obviously talked more than I should have with my daughter, but we are very close.
Be kind. I mean, really, who says there is a should or... I think the bottom line is to ask your kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I really do.
Now that they're not a kid, I mean.
Yeah. And I really do try to keep, not interrupt them all the time.
What did you want from your mom when you were your daughter's age?
I really didn't care about her when I talked to her.
So what did you want earlier that you didn't care about her later?
I guess really I just wanted to be accepted from myself.
Yeah. Did you find you hid the
even
real
today?
You, or just...
I'm not accepted by her.
Yeah.
I'm shocked when I walk in the door and she's like, whatever. Is happy to see me. I'm like, this dementia thing is pretty good.
Yeah. Have you ever told her how you felt from childhood? I confronted my parents on a couple of things, and I knew they weren't. I was doing it for me, not for them, because there was no way they were going to admit what I wasn't accusing, but I was asking them why they didn't do certain things, because I felt like they didn't love me, and they're like, what? We don't remember that ever happening. And I knew I would get a response like that, but I had to say it for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whether it's dementia or not, but say, Mom, do you remember back when you were... because now she's mom, but you're two adult women, right?
Right.
And I think what stinks with parents sometimes, particularly moms, is we could learn so much from them. Talk to them.
And it is interesting because I want to reach out to my cousins to say, because their mother was my mom's aunt, but they were very close. And just some of the dynamics, there were some weird things going on in our family. Well, depression in our family, everybody's treated themselves for that. I just would drink.
Yeah.
Which is not helpful.
Yeah. No, it just
makes you more depressed,
I know. Do you still drink for depression?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I drink a whole lot, I'll have a couple glasses of wine or a gin and tonic or something like that. But I'm more cognizant about that, and also trying to lose weight, although I'm not on the problem side that some of my family's on with that. But I'm just trying to improve overall. And I think one of the things that has really got me right now is, like I was saying, just with friends, or maybe what it is I don't know who I am, like you were saying, who you attract. It's kind of this stuff that you're giving off. And I finally am waking up and I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm really dishing out shit.
Doing this, finding out who you are. When I left work, I was confident. I knew who I was. My heart was always full when my kids were there, right?
Yeah.
But the videos, I don't know if I told you, at Christmas a couple years ago, my kids and I watched all the videos. And I watched myself. And around my parents and my ex, I looked like I was catatonic. I was just no expression. Just,
wow.
Family parties, because I always entertained all the holidays. Tons of people, and I'm just stoic. But then that same day, you would see me with the kids, and I was laughing, playing, banging pots and pans. It was so sad when I was watching that. I'm like, oh my God.
But at least you were there for your kids.
Yeah. But then I go wow, maybe I was what they said I was. I'm like, no, I know I wasn't that way always. I became that way. But so when I was just with family, I just shut down everything. I mean, it creeped me out watching. I'm like, who the hell is that?
Now, are your parents?
Nah, everyone's dead. Yeah. But what I was going to say is that when I did go out and walked out the door of even my home, my parents' home, my heart was filled. Like my life, because I allowed myself to be who I was. Mm-hmm. I didn't care what people think. I did not live in my head. I lived from here. And I saw the best of people, like living as me from my heart.
Right.
Brought out the best in everyone that was around me.
Right.
The only time life really sucked is when I tried to be somebody I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. I found the past year in business. I am not a business person. I'm like an artist, creative. Like I want to like do retreats. And so this past year, like I've lived now. It was almost like it was when I was with my parents. Because trying to be somebody I'm not. And this is empty. Like when I go out and like hug people and talk to people, then it gets full again. But because that's who I am. I'm not who I've been trying to be.
Right.
Right. So I think sometimes like we know who we are. You've ignored it for so long. Like hide yourself long enough and eventually you don't see yourself. But you know, like, so I was saying what brings you joy? I know whenever like the feeling of alignment and being like, this is me, I feel it more in my gut. It's this kind of like cool feeling, and it's all of a sudden the world's perfect. Like there's not a thought in my head. And there are times I've cried because I was just, I cry. I'm like, oh, I just feel like love. For nobody in particular. Just so where I first, to find out who you are, you gotta really start paying attention to your body.
Right.
And when you get that feeling,
right,
you know, during the day, if all of a sudden, just for like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, you feel really good, take notice. What the hell were you doing? Because that's you, minus all the crap that's in here, you know. If I ask you now, and don't think about this, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to just, what's off the top of your tongue, all right? I am.
No, I am.
Yeah. Is there anything that you feel, but you feel embarrassed to say?
You know what? I don't know.
That's okay. That's okay.
But when you're talking about the way you can feel in your body, that's for a very long time I've been feeling it's not right. Things are not right. I am not in the right direction. And I've been reading and I've been studying and I've been...
So you know what? I would make that a top priority. And that's my priority now. For the next 3 months, it's joy. You know, whatever I have to do, because in those moments of joy, that's where you're going to find out who you are. So if you were productive and you made use of time and you weren't wasting time, what would you be doing?
Make more time for people.
Okay. And what stops you from doing that now?
I guess fear of rejection.
Okay.
Fear of not having anything to talk to somebody about, not being able to connect with with the people that I invited over or the people that I, want to be friends with.
Have you had that happen before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I've been looking at lately and seeing that is so true, that I'm just missing the boat. I'm wondering if I have Asperger's.
Yeah. But ADD, I think, really does that. I know with a couple girlfriends who will call me, and then I'll get on a passion, I'll start talking, and I know I've exhausted them. That
is why I don't want to say word one is people are like hard on each other. I'm hard enough on myself.
Yeah, they are, but I don't know. Like, I think that, I always saw that whenever I shared something, whether it be like, oh my God, I was looking in the mirror and my thighs look like something that people think, I cannot admit that because nobody else thinks that way.
Right.
When you say something like that, I've always had people go, Me too. So put yourself out there. Can you feel more alone than you do now?
No.
Yeah. So guess what?
Well, yeah, I could.
Could you?
Yeah, I could get divorced again.
Yeah.
Which I was really, that's why I thought I ended up at that group because, I was like, I can't do this anymore with my husband. Yeah. And
what made you change your mind?
Fear. Things have gotten better, but then I started thinking, this happens. This is a cycle. And I'm going to be a little more vigilant this time and watch this unfold. So we'll see. He's trying hard. I'm trying hard. But
do you guys have fun together?
But we do.
Good.
Yeah. We do enjoy things, the same things.
You know, I asked you when you felt most like yourself. When do you feel least like whatever that feeling is? Like,
lately, just going to the computer and having to work. Yeah. But I wish I could just go outside and jump and make money.
Yeah. Well, I can't make money. But it's at this point in my life, and this is kind of crazy, but it's like I really don't care. At the end of the day, I want to just like share with people what I've learned that can, I think, help and connect with people. I mean, I told a coach once, I'm like, look, if you get me up and running on business, I make millions of dollars, but I don't connect with people every day like I did when I was a nurse out on the streets, I failed. But if you make me a few $100,000 and I connect and feel that part of the world, now it's a freaking amazing feeling that like no matter where I went, I just felt like I was part of something bigger. And I saw the best people. I like homeless people in my car, not even thinking about it.
Right.
But whenever I just truly lived from the heart, I saw the best of the worst people. Because they sense a wall. They sense you know what I mean? Like just, I think people sense they aren't in danger. And when you're true to who you are, you can trust your own gut. Because there were 1 or 2 times in all the years that I went, oh, yeah, I better leave now. But my gut told me that. But if I was pretending and trying to, if I was in my head too much, I wouldn't have sensed that. But once you can sense that, then you trust yourself to be a little more vulnerable. Yeah. Because you're going to trust yourself to get your back, like to protect yourself. Yeah. And
I do remember being happy and easygoing and able to connect years ago, but I've lost that,
You haven't lost it. It's just, it's buried under a bunch of crap. Yeah. You haven't lost it because that's who you are. I mean, that's you, right? Yeah. And that's, I think, when I asked about, like, you were 8, not only because of fire, but a study came up and said that whatever you want to be when you're 8 or 9 is your true, life purpose. It's your soul purpose. And I think that's where we start to put the mask on, because think how many kids probably tell their parents that they want to be something, artist, singer, baseball player. Parents, meeting well, we go, no, you can't do that. Like, you can't make. Right. And then I think as kids, we go, can't really say exactly what I want, because what if they don't love me anymore? Right. And that never freaking goes away. No. So many people walk out of life. Oh, yeah. But I think keeping the little kid alive, I think that helped me too, doing stupid, silly stuff. Is keeping. I have people that are with me on the street. If they look at me, I'm like, come on, skip with me. My kids, I'm embarrassed the hell out. But, it's just, life's too freaking serious. I mean.
And short.
Yeah.
And short.
Well, that's why it's like, I do the same thing that I've been getting migraines the last 3 days a week. I'm like in bed in a dark room. And that's where my thoughts have gotten because.
Now, do you feel that you're better with your migraines, or is it just not?
They're worse. I know it's stress. It's stress. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get in, but there's recently, like, I've done some testing because I can't execute and I get very overwhelmed and confused easily. And so I actually went, I thought, all right, I've spent like almost 6 figures in coaching.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't helped. So there's either some way deep-seated belief or there's something wrong with my brain that happened from trauma. Because this one Ace says, I gave you Ace's question. Did I ever send that to you?
Yeah.
I did.
Well, you did it at the,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I actually have a lot of old brain trauma.
Do you think, though, that some of it might be tied to weather?
Barometric pressure, some.
Yeah.
Mine were lights, the bright lights.
Yeah.
Whenever I go in the stores, like 10, 15 minutes, I start slurring, my heart's pounding. You know, I get really nauseous, and then it starts, and a headache ensues. And apparently there's something wrong with my temporal lobes and something with alpha cells. So there are real challenges that I've been facing, and I think the stress of it, and not being
writing a book and doing,
Yeah, like I'm just, you know, I this past year when I moved into here, I kind of sensed, I'm like, momentum was going on what I was doing. I mean, I was ridiculous. I was spending money like a fiend, but I was meeting all these like really like personal development celebrities, like people who are top in the industry. And then I came back home here, had to move into here. I was living with a girlfriend, and I fought it. I didn't get any furniture for the first month I was here. Because I grew up like 3 miles from here, and I'm like, I did not do all this friggin' stuff to be 3 miles from where I grew up, right? No cable, nothing. I slept on an air mattress in this place for a month. And then it took me another month because I was so like, whatever, I couldn't even make a decision on looking at furniture. I think a lot of it's age. I can tell you that I don't think there are many very happy. I think a lot of people are feeling like this. You know, a lot of women at least I've spoken to. And if I could follow through on everything, I would like get these groups together. But I know I just forget things. I get in hyper-focus with the ADD, and the world could set on fire.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have a lot going on. I mean...
Yeah. But anyhow, my point being that through this whole time, if nothing else comes out of my moving work and trusting my intuition, I think I truly love myself now. And although I may not like the way I feel sometimes, because what helps me get through any time is to say, what's the lesson? This is here for a reason. What's the lesson? There are people that tell you, oh, you don't do that, it's bullshit. And I'm like, well, you know what? If I can look at a bad time and think it's a good time, then it works for me.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes it fun. Because then it gives you, instead of wallowing, you're like, what am I supposed to learn here?
Right.
You know?
Like, I know so many mistakes I've made.
But that's okay.
And I don't blame anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, I take ownership of them. They're all mine. But yeah, I just, and I remember talking to a cousin of mine and saying, well, that was wrong what I did, but, you know, I've learned a lot from that. And having her tell me that, I can't remember the exact words were like, but that was a sin, and you're not supposed to sin, and you know, you just it was like it was better to not have sinned than to whatever.
Oh.
And same cousin, fast forward 30 years. Well, if you don't have any bad times, you just don't understand or appreciate the good times. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, like, here's the thing with this sin thing. I don't know. It's like people tell us we should. When I first left work, right, I had my house and I had decent amount of money. Technically, people are like, you have to work. I'm like, well, no, I really don't.
Yeah.
Why do it? But you have to. Why? Who says that's right? It has to work. And not that I didn't
Right.
want to, but
Right.
it just blew my. I was I'm always one that questions the. I'm like, I'm wanting to play piano. My son's like, a chord has to have 3. And I'm like, but listen, 2 sounds good. Why do you have to have 3? He goes, because that's the way it's always been. I'm like, but why can't I change it? Like,
Yes, that's me.
Right, that's the ADD. I quit work seriously because the ADD, I thought I was special. I wasn't freaking special. And my message was teach people to have ADD and just be open and have heart with themselves, right? But, some of the things when you say you're fearful, what I did, and I learned this from, I don't know, some book, but what you fear, write down what you fear. And then write down what would you do if that came true? Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know, like I travel a lot by myself, but some people say I can never travel by myself. I'm like, why? Well, what if my car breaks down? Okay, what if my car breaks down? What am I going to do?
Right.
And then write that down. So like if you take your fears, if you don't want people, if you're afraid to let people know how you feel, okay, so if I tell them and they say something negative, what am I going to do? And then, like, if you play out the scenario on the paper and see that even if your worst fear comes true, you'll have a way of coping with it.
Right.
It may not be optimal coping, but you'll still. Is there anything in your life that you haven't made it through?
Right. Yeah.
You're sitting here.
Right.